Lebashe Financial Services has acquired an additional 24% in RainFin, increasing their shareholding from 51% to 75% in the leading South African credit sector. The acquisition is part of a wide-ranging corporate restructuring exercise to position Lebashe at the forefront of the unfolding disruption in the financial services sector, with the ultimate aim of establishing a black-owned bank. In March, Lebashe announced a long-term strategic partnership with EOH, which includes a 250 million rand cash investment by Lebashe in EOH and a growth funding facility to the tune of 3 billion rand to enable the firm's growth strategy. To discuss this, we are joined in the studio by Warren Wheatley, who is Executive Director of Lebashe Financial Services. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thanks for having me, Colin.
Well, for many people, Lebashe Financial Services is something that is Greek to them. Tell us a little bit about this establishment and when did it start?
Lebashe Financial Services, but more specifically the Lebashe Investment Group, started in 2015. It was following a deal we did in Capitec Bank, where we acquired 5.2 million shares based on our view of the business and our positive growth expectations of that asset. Having been involved or growing up in the financial services area, we then, along with my partners, who are Tepo Mashlule and Jabu Moloketi, decided to build a black-owned and, more importantly, black-managed financial services group. What became apparent to us was that to change the country, we needed to create jobs, and to create jobs we needed to create small business. And the biggest impact that we could envisage ourselves doing was creating access or opening up capital markets to small business, given that a large majority of the population, and more specifically entrepreneurs, don't have access to capital, given our history.
So what seems to be the hurdle in starting a bank? Is it the application process or the operating environment?
Well, we haven't faced any hurdles as yet. Having said that, we haven't applied formally for a banking license. Our process is to build a platform that is tested in accumulating assets and then allocating those efficiently. Once we've got a proven track record of being efficient allocators of capital, we will then go to the public and ask them to put their confidence in us and apply for a license at that stage.
So it's one thing to open up the market for credit access, especially for black entrepreneurs, but it's the other thing when it comes to criteria. Where are you going to draw a balancing act, and especially more that there's so much risk involved in credit extension, and you don't want to end up like African Bank?
Well, the first thing we're doing differently is we are looking for the capital from institutions who have a specific mandate to take on that kind of risk. So we won't be going to the public and asking them to deploy their savings towards risky objectives. So we're looking at FDIs, institutional investors, and other owners of capital who want to take that risk and find that level of risk appropriately. Secondly, we're using fintech and AI to assess the risk and to speedily and efficiently make a credit decision.
So how are you going to find the place in the financial services industry, especially now that it has become so disruptive at the moment? How are you going to find your niche?
Well, we think there's enough space for everyone to play. We're deploying fintech and other technology to business, and we're also taking a different approach to many other institutions. We're trying to have a wider access points by being accessible through the internet. We hope to form partnerships with other businesses that have wider distribution footprints than we do. So, for example, we would love to partner with the Post Bank, where every terminal in SA is effectively a branch of ours, And that's the way we want to do things differently.
Well, many people's wish is that there could be a black-owned bank as soon as possible. Even when you listen to political debates, many people are advocating for that. So why should this really take long with you creating this kind of platform? Why don't you just go straight for the bullseye?
I think we would like to be prudent. At the end of the day, we would always be allocating other people's money, and to the investors whose capital we have under our care, we need to take special care of that. And so we want to be prudent and allocate that capital efficiently but prudently. So it's not something we want to rush. It's something we want to be able to have a proven track record at efficient allocation of capital. And I think the last thing SA needs is another failure by a black business or a black bank. So we want to avoid that entirely.
Yes, I do understand that, but for you to do a product launch and for people to test and try it so that they can rely on it, it's not easy, because if you have had a bank like Capitec where people have relied on it and it's increasing its numbers day by day, you have heard recently that Liberty also is starting a bank. And the big major banks won't just take this lying down. They will also want to be competitive so that they can be able to survive. Recently on this program, we did a story about for South African banks to stay afloat, they need to move with the times so that they can survive and stay afloat. So what do you have to say about that? Because it would be interesting for us to see, oh yeah, there are plans to start a black-owned bank. You want to be prudent before you do that. But then how are you going to achieve this depending on your strategy?
So let me be clear on this. We aren't on the sidelines. We are today currently allocating loans to small, medium enterprises. So we're not on the sidelines. And what I mean by being prudent, before we apply for a banking license and ask the South African public to take us into our confidence, we want to prove that using the tools currently at our disposal, we have been effective at efficiently allocating capital. So the difference between what we do now and having a formal bank license is, with a bank license, we would be able to ask the public to deposit funds and allocate those funds to businesses. Right now, we are allocating funds that we have attracted from institutional investors, FDIs, and other institutions that have an express mandate that matches our vision. Once we have proven our abilities in allocating that capital and have a proven track record, only at that point will we approach the public to take us in their confidence.
I get that you don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Correct.
All right, thank you very much. We're speaking to Warren Wheatley, who is the Executive Director at Lebashe Financial Services. And right now we are going to move with our headlines.